there's been so many conversations and comments directly from J.K. Rowling.
I really don't believe that by having had that experience and holding the love and support and views that I have mean that I can't and don't treasure Jo.
I'm here for all of the witches.
That's Emma Watson in September 2025. The same Emma Watson who 5 years earlier publicly distanced herself from J.K. Rowling when it was trendy to do so. The same Emma who stood with trans activists as they tore apart the woman who created Hermione Granger and gave her everything. And now, Emma's trying to rewrite history, talking about love and forgiveness and how cancel culture is wrong. But J.K. Rowling isn't buying it. And neither is anyone else. This is the story of how Emma Watson destroyed her own reputation trying to be everyone's hero, and how the woman she betrayed just exposed her as a fraud. What's up, GossipSlice fam? And today we're covering something that's been brewing for years, but just exploded in the messiest way possible. Emma Watson versus J.K. Rowling, Hermione versus her creator. And the fallout is so brutal that both sides are turning on Emma. Because here's the thing, we all wanted to believe in Emma. She was our Hermione, the girl who grew up to fight for women's rights at the United Nations, the activist who made feminism cool for our generation. But what she did to J.K. Rowling and how she's handling it now reveals something way darker about celebrity activism. Smash that like button right now, because what I'm about to show you proves that when your activism is just for appearances, eventually everyone sees through it. And if you don't hit subscribe before this video ends, you'll miss the part where J.K. Rowling's response absolutely destroys Emma's reputation, and honestly, she's not wrong. Let's go back to where this all started. Emma Watson wasn't just an actress. She was the actress for an entire generation. Cast as Hermione Granger at 9 years old, she grew up on screen playing the smartest witch of her age. But here's what made Emma different. She didn't just play a strong female character, she became one, or at least that's what we all believed. She went to Brown University while filming Harry Potter, she studied at Oxford, she talked about feminism in interviews when most young actresses were staying silent on politics. And then came the United Nations He for She speech in 2014. Emma, at 24 years old, stood in front of world leaders and delivered a speech about gender equality that went viral. Millions of views, headlines everywhere. She became the face of modern feminism for young women. We loved her for it. She was Hermione in real life, using her platform for good, speaking truth to power, making us believe that celebrities could actually change the world. But here's what we didn't see. Emma's activism was always perfectly timed, perfectly branded, and perfectly safe. She talked about issues that everyone already agreed on: gender equality, climate change, sustainability. She joined movements that were already mainstream, collected the applause, and moved on. She was the acceptable face of activism. Beautiful, educated, articulate, and most importantly, not actually threatening to anyone with power. Her feminism was the kind that looked good on magazine covers and red carpets. And for years, it worked. Until J.K. Rowling said something that forced Emma to choose between her brand and her loyalty. In June 2020, J.K. Rowling tweeted something that changed everything. A woman named Maya Forstater had lost her job for saying that biological sex is real and can't be changed. Rowling defended her, tweeting support for women who believe that sex is a biological fact. The internet exploded. Trans activists called Rowling transphobic. They said her views were harmful, dangerous, and that she was erasing trans people's existence. The Harry Potter fandom, which had grown up with her books, felt betrayed. But here's the context that gets lost. Rowling wasn't saying trans people don't exist or don't deserve rights. She was saying that biological sex matters, especially for women's spaces like prisons, shelters, and sports. She was arguing for women's rights, the same cause Emma Watson had built her entire brand on. Rowling doubled down. She wrote a long essay explaining her position, talking about her own experiences with domestic violence and why she believes women need sex-based protections. She refused to apologize. She refused to back down. And that's when Emma Watson had to make a choice: stand with the woman who created her career and gave her everything, or stand with the movement that was currently trending online and demanding loyalty. Emma chose the movement. On June 10, 2020, Emma posted on Twitter, not tagging Rowling, not responding to her directly, but making it crystal clear where she stood. Trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say they are. I want my trans followers to know that I and so many other people around the world see you, respect you, and love you for who you are. It was a carefully worded statement that said everything without saying anything. Emma never mentioned Rowling by name, never acknowledged that Rowling had given her the platform she was using to condemn her, never even tried to have a conversation. She just publicly distanced herself, signaled her virtue to the online mob, and walked away from the woman who made her famous. And the internet ate it up. Emma was praised for being brave, for standing up for trans rights, for choosing the right side of history. Trans activists celebrated her. Young fans who'd turned on Rowling celebrated her. But here's what nobody asked. What did Emma actually do for trans people after that tweet? What concrete actions did she take? What organizations did she support? What legislation did she push for? Nothing. She posted a tweet, collected the applause, and moved on with her life. Meanwhile, J.K. Rowling continued to speak out, face death threats, lose awards, and get called every name imaginable. Emma tweeted once and disappeared while Rowling paid the actual price for having an opinion. That's the difference between activism and performance. And Emma was performing. For 5 years, Emma Watson said nothing more about J.K. Rowling. She didn't defend her, she didn't criticize her, she just existed in this weird middle ground where she'd publicly disagreed with Rowling but never actually had to face any consequences for it. Her career continued. She got roles, did fashion campaigns, attended events. The Harry Potter money kept rolling in from the franchise Rowling created. Emma benefited from Rowling's work while publicly distancing herself from Rowling's views. And here's what's really telling. During those 5 years, Rowling continued to face brutal harassment, death threats, rape threats, people posted her home address online. Trans activists stalked her, threatened her family, and tried to destroy her career. Where was Emma during all of this? Silent. Completely silent. She didn't condemn the violence. She didn't call for civility. She didn't say that maybe, just maybe, sending death threats to a woman for her views on sex and gender was going too far. She said nothing, because saying something would have required actual courage, actual risk, actual sacrifice, and Emma's activism has never required any of those things. Meanwhile, other people in the Harry Potter world made their positions clear. Daniel Radcliffe wrote an essay for the Trevor Project supporting trans youth. Rupert Grint made statements. Even minor cast members weighed in. But Emma, she tweeted once and then hid. That's not activism, that's cowardice dressed up as principle. Then, in September 2025, Emma Watson did her first major interview in years, Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast. And suddenly, Emma had a lot to say about J.K. Rowling. She said she loves and treasures Rowling, that there's no world in which she could ever cancel her, that no one is disposable, that she wishes a conversation had been possible instead of everyone taking sides. She talked about complexity and nuance, and how we need to hold space for disagreement without destroying each other. Beautiful words, mature sentiments, exactly what people wanted to hear about cancel culture and forgiveness. There was just one problem. Where was that nuance 5 years ago when Rowling needed it? Where was that no one is disposable energy when trans activists were sending Rowling death threats and Emma said nothing? Where was that love and treasure when Emma could have stood beside the woman who made her career instead of throwing her under the bus for Twitter clout? Emma's podcast appearance wasn't brave. It was damage control. Because in 2025, the tide has turned. Cancel culture is falling out of favor. People are tired of the purity tests. And Emma, always perfectly in tune with what's trending, suddenly discovered nuance. But it was too late, because J.K. Rowling was watching, and she had receipts. Days after Emma's podcast aired, J.K. Rowling posted on X, and what she said was absolutely brutal. Rowling revealed that after her controversial tweets in 2020, Emma had sent her a private note. A note expressing support and sympathy for the backlash Rowling was facing. A note that suggested Emma understood where Rowling was coming from, even if she didn't fully agree. But publicly, Emma distanced herself. Publicly, Emma stood with the mob. Privately, she sent sympathetic notes. That's not principle, that's political calculation. Rowling went further. She said Emma has so little experience of real life, she's ignorant of how ignorant she is. She pointed out that Emma lives in a world of privilege, where her activism costs her nothing. That Emma's feminism is a luxury performed from penthouses and red carpets, not lived in the real world where women need sex-based protections. And then came the killing blow. Rowling said that celebrities who cozied up to a movement intent on eroding women's hard-won rights can save their apologies, that Emma and others like her use their platforms to cheer on policies that harm women, and now they want forgiveness without ever acknowledging what they did wrong. She wasn't asking for an apology. She was saying Emma's apology is worthless because Emma still doesn't understand what she's apologizing for. And honestly, Rowling's not wrong. Emma's podcast appearance wasn't about genuine reconciliation. It was about rehabilitating her own image now that cancel culture is unpopular. Here's where it gets really messy. After Emma's podcast and Rowling's response, both sides turned on Emma Watson. Trans activists who once celebrated Emma are now calling her a backtracker. They're saying she betrayed them by trying to make peace with Rowling, that her "no one is disposable" comment is code for abandoning trans rights, that she's choosing her career and Harry Potter money over her principles. On the other side, Rowling supporters see Emma's sudden nuance as fake damage control. They point out that Emma only discovered forgiveness when it became socially acceptable, that she abandoned Rowling when it was hard and came crawling back when it was safe. And the general public? We see someone who tried to play both sides and ended up trusted by neither. Emma's Instagram comments are a war zone. Her podcast has thousands of comments calling her fake, performative, and cowardly. Articles are being written about how she represents everything wrong with celebrity activism. She tried to be everyone's hero and ended up being nobody's. Because when you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. Emma Watson's downfall reveals something crucial about modern celebrity activism. It's not about changing the world. It's about being seen on the right side of history, whatever that happens to be at the moment. Real activism costs something. Your reputation, your relationships, your opportunities, your comfort. Real activists don't get to hedge their bets and play both sides. They make hard choices and live with the consequences. Emma never did that. Her feminism was the kind that got her magazine covers and UN speeches. Her activism was the kind that required nothing more than a tweet and a carefully curated Instagram aesthetic. But when she actually had to choose between loyalty and trend, between standing by someone who made her career and appeasing an online mob, she chose the mob. And when the mob moved on and the culture shifted, she tried to backtrack. That's not activism, that's branding. And when your activism is just branding, it only works as long as people believe in the product. Right now, nobody's buying it. So here's what actually happened. Emma Watson built a career on being the smart, principled activist celebrity. She was supposed to be different, better than the other Hollywood stars who stay silent on important issues. But when it actually mattered, when J.K. Rowling needed someone to stand beside her, or at least extend some grace, Emma chose her image over her loyalty. She threw Rowling under the bus with a tweet and then stayed silent for 5 years while Rowling faced brutal harassment. Now that cancel culture is falling out of favor, now that nuance is trending again, Emma suddenly wants to talk about love and forgiveness and how no one is disposable. But those words ring hollow when you only say them after the risk has passed. J.K. Rowling called Emma ignorant, and maybe she is, ignorant of how real activism works, ignorant of what loyalty means, ignorant of the fact that you can't play both sides and expect anyone to trust you. Emma Watson betrayed J.K. Rowling, and now she's paying the price. Not with her career or her money, but with something far more valuable in the age of social media, her credibility. So GossipSlice fam, Emma Watson went from being our generation's feminist icon to someone nobody trusts. Not trans activists, not Rowling supporters, not anyone who values genuine principle over performative wokeness. She wanted to be Hermione in real life. But Hermione would have stood by her friends even when it was hard. Hermione would have had the conversation instead of sending a sympathetic note in private and a condemnation in public. Hermione would have been brave. Emma Watson was not. Drop a heart emoji in the comments if you used to look up to Emma and this changed how you see her. And drop a book emoji if you think J.K. Rowling was right to call her out. Like this video right now and subscribe to GossipSlice because we just showed you what happens when celebrity activism is all performance and no principle. When the trends change, so does the activist. This is GossipSlice, where we serve the truth one slice at a time. And the truth is that Emma Watson chose her brand over her loyalty, and now nobody believes in either one. I'll see you in the next one.
I think the thing I'm most upset about is that a conversation was never made possible. I don't care about her